So there in the bottom of your screen there, you're familiar with Zoom regarding your share screen if you want to share anything on your screen. I'll go ahead and get started with my dissertation topic, if that's okay. You okay with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you just sort of the outline of what I'm doing.
Okay.
Tell me if you can see that or not.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so you see it says dissertation topic there at the top?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically what I am doing is, and you and I have talked about this before, of course, in class and prior to even this semester beginning. My topic is a review of alternative education programs. I know that's a wide topic. However, we've narrowed it down to two for Chesterfield County in a small rural South Carolina school district. And the two programs being evaluated are the alternative school program itself, PLC, and the adult education program, which is both offered at local high schools and at the NETC campuses. Of course, that is only offered through Chesterfield County Schools. Now, you would know more about that than I would, but through my research and talking to a couple of people that I know and talking to you, NETC in itself as an organization does not offer an adult ed program, correct?
No, not that they used to, but right now they do not offer anything. The only adult ed program is through Chesterfield County's school system.
Gotcha. All right, and so what I am doing is sort of taking those two programs because they fit under the umbrella of alternative education program, of course, for a non-traditional setting, and I've framed or crafted my research question as what are the effects of alternative education programs on student performance and behavior in a small rural South Carolina school district? Now, I proposed this, of course, initially to Dr. Goodwin, who approved and wanted me to look at a broader scope of it, not just PLC, but at adult ed as well. And therefore, that's why I'm doing the two programs combined. Also, I proposed this to my committee chair, which is Dr. Compton, and she actually likes the idea. She said that it wouldn't be too burdensome to, once I've framed the research itself, she says that, doing two programs won't be that difficult to do once I have the framework set, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so she said by combining those two programs, it's going to give probably some more valuable information to the district as a whole. And I think that's what Dr. Goodman is looking for. So I do have the thumbs up from her and from him to move forward with this. Of course, we're still in the proposal state, but in regards to what I'm studying, it looks like I got two thumbs up from them, so that's a good thing.
That is.
Yes, sir. My three sub-questions, of course, these are always possible to change. However, what I wanted to do is sort of see, are these programs effective? Number one, are they being effective? I believe they are. The people in the district believe that they are. But we want to make sure we have the data to support that. What are the strengths and what are the limitations of the programs in itself? Both programs together. That's going to take, of course, some focus groups, some data. It's going to take some conversations with the various leaders of those different and directors of those programs, and just some observations, just to sort of see, what the strengths and limitations are. And then this one, the third question was crafted based upon the conversations that I had with Dr. Urey this 2 weekends ago, I believe it was, and that is, what are the identifiable changes in students' behaviors resulting from attendance of the alternative program? In other words, he's thinking that if there is an increase in graduation rate, if there is an increase in, overall student performance and behavior. And there is a decrease in expulsion rate. What's leading to that? In other words, is it something that they are changing in the program? Is it a certain skill set that they are gaining? And why it is that those things are increasing or decreasing in correlation to one another. And so those are my 3 sub-questions. And the variables that we discussed in class 2 weekends ago were the independent variable and the dependent variable. Of course, the independent variable, what's being manipulated is the alternative education program itself. And that's defined as the non-traditional approach for Chesterfield County schools. 2 alternative education programs are the alternative school program and the adult ed program. And the operational definition, in other words, how I'm going to measure that, are surveys of the alternative education teachers and the administrators or the directors, the survey of traditional education teachers. What do these students, how do these students do when they come back from these programs, if that makes sense? And then the number of completions, of course, that we can get from Power School and other report card data. The second variable is the dependent variable, which is the effects on student performance and behavior. Just as a general conceptual definition, that being anything that influences the completion rates of students performing in alternative education programs, just in general or at large. And the focus is going to be, of course, on completion rates. That's what Dr. Goodwin really wants to see. What is the effect on expulsion rates? What's the effect on graduation rates? And what's the effect on dropout rates? You may be able to answer this, Chris, and that is regarding graduation rates. Does adult ed graduation rate have an impact on Chesterfield County School District graduation rates in general?
It does. It does. It used to affect us even more so in the fact that we could count somebody that went to adult ed in our graduation rate as long as they were successful. Now they've changed the rules to where that does not happen. You cannot count folks that go to adult ed, even if they're successful there. They're still looked at as not successful in the traditional high school setting. Therefore, you don't get any credit for them on your graduation rate. But I will say that there is still a factor that Marley gets a lot of her funding based on at adult ed gets a lot of her funding based on her completion rate and how successful they are with the GED and with the high school diploma. So it's both, not just the diploma track or the GED track. It's both. You get a weighting for both of those. So and that helps with funding because we were in danger just 3 years ago of losing all funding for our adult ed program because it was not done very, very effectively. And now with Marla's help, it has turned around and it is now becoming to be self-sustaining again to where as a district we don't have to support it as much because of, again, she gets her numbers by graduating students.
Okay, very good. And so, of course, I guess you could automatically say that if a student withdraws from the traditional setting, that it has a negative impact on graduation rate. But with those 2 factors that you just mentioned, of course, we can sort of look at those and see how it's impacting the county at large, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The other factors, of course, are study habits. Just, when these kids go to PLC, what type of study habits are they picking up? What type of organizational skills and social skills are they picking up to go back into the traditional setting to be successful? And, just when they do go back, are they successful? And what is the perception of the whole program at large in the traditional setting, if that makes sense?
It does.
And then, of course, the operational definition. And I added one component to this based upon an email conversation with Dr. Compton earlier. And that is, I'm going to, of course, survey teachers and administrators. Also going to survey students. Now, of course, that gets a little dicey when it comes to traditional students because we have to get parental permission. But anybody in the adult ed program that is, of course, over the age of 18 can give their own consent to that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, anybody that's 18, you're considered an adult at that point. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the focus groups are going to be the educators who have taught the affected students, and then the students themselves, of course. And so that's where I stand currently with my, topic and proposal. Of course, the proposal hasn't been finished yet, but that's sort of the outlay. That's the general outlay of where I'm headed. So I'm going to take that back to the regular screen and let you share with me yours.
All right. Well, what I don't have mine done on a nice, neat little form like you do. I'm but I will say that, of course, it's what I'm really focusing on is evaluating and exploring the current Grow Your Own Leaders program for Chesterfield County School District. That's kind of my synopsis of my problem or my topic. I'm wanting to do a program evaluation. And looking at the same pieces that we did, the conceptual definition, the Aspiring Principals program effectively prepares individuals to be ready for a principalship is ultimately kind of that conceptual definition.
Right.
And then the operational definition, I said, survey data. What else did I say? Successful completion of principles, and then the number of hours. He mentioned number of hours the last time we talked because he said, can you put a successful rate on that? Like they have to complete so many hours. And I told, I told him it would be hard to do that because there's some people that are in there for a while. There's others that are not in there very long at all. It kind of really depends on where they come at in the program. That said, it really just depends on how long they're in the program. There's some that are in there, and you probably could point some of them out that in your mind you're thinking they probably cannot be a principal. And we think that about some people in there as well. But you still have them in there because you're trying to, you don't want to give up on anybody, but at the same time, you're trying to build that capacity in people to do that. There's others that are in there that we're like, it's just got to be the right fit at the right time for them because they're ready. It's just got to be the right fit. Right. So it's hard to put a number of hours, but I'm going to try to say something so that we can have that, because again, you think of a class, you have this many hours that you have to do, or if you think of a program that you do for the state, that sealed program or anything like that, it's going to have a time frame on it. So I could definitely use year to year, the time frame that we looked at, which is that once a month. Right. It is raining again. It is pouring. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is pouring down rain in the background.
Yeah, I can see that.
Again. 20 some inches of rain already, and here we get more.
Yes, sir.
The second variable, building capacity among leaders. I said the successful number of principals to complete, and then are actually in the principalship. So this is where I'm thinking of the Nikki Millers, the Mara Kings, the Ella Middletons, the Damon Barnhills, the Shanika Davids, the Angela Denbys, the Karen Ellerbys, the Neil Adams. So we've got a good number of folks that are principals now that have been in that program, and I would like to think are fairly successful at the principalship. And quite honestly, they do a good job, mainly because I feel like they've had better training. Maybe somebody that was just thrust into that position, which again was the main problem that we had.
Well, let me ask you this question, if I could, just stop you just for a second. when you guys build leadership capacity at the district level for these people, and those people that you just mentioned, is it then expected for them, which I'm sure the expectation is there, but is it then expected for them to build leadership capacity in in the people that are underneath them? And if so, what is the general expectation or general guidelines for them?
I think so, Jason. I mean, you always, I feel like our best principals and your best leaders are ones that build that capacity in people. But you know as well as I do, you can probably look around your school building, you see people that are true leaders and have that innate ability to lead. Chad and I have this argument a lot at work. He believes that you can build a leader. I believe that people have the innate ability to lead, and then it's just a matter of fostering that growth in them. He thinks that just the opposite, that you can take somebody that does not have a leadership bone in their body, and then you can teach them to become a leader. So we argue about that all the time. We have very lively debate about that. But it's funny because Doc sees it my way as well. Doc feels the same way. That leaders are just, you either have it in you or you don't. And then once the people that have it, you foster that growth. So I come back to the point that I think that you probably in your building know people that have true leadership ability. They're able to take a group of people and do things with them. And then so it's a matter of bottling that and trying to steer that in a direction to be positive for your school.
Right.
In saying that, I think it's the same thing that we would want our principals to encourage that among their people and to foster that growth in their people, to make it better for the whole system. Because the more of that you can have, the better as a system you're going to become.
Right.
So, and that's ultimately, again, in building capacity, I'm intrigued by leadership. That's why I wanted to do something with this subject, because I just feel like, again, I feel like great leadership is great leadership. It doesn't matter if you're on a sideline coaching football. It doesn't matter if you're in a principalship or if you're at a superintendency or if you're a CEO of a company even. I think great leadership is great leadership, because you can read the Lencioni's and the Jim Collinses and the John Gordons of the world, and they just, again, you can take that and really put it into the principalship, or you can put it into the superintendency, or you can put that into the coaching aspect, all of those things, and make it fit. So that in my goal, that's what I'm wanting to try to show, is that we are trying to build that same type of capacity that a lot of those good authors do in their books, but we're trying to do it on a more practical stage. And I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like the data is going to show that we're pretty successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best companies do that too. Best companies build capacity and build leadership within their own organizations.
Right.
Before my brother passed, I remember in Pepsi, when he first went in Pepsi, he had to do every job in Pepsi before he took his CEO type job. He had to ride in the truck. He had to help stock shelves at a store, just so that he had a true understanding of what it looks like from factory all the way through to the store, and all the stops in between and what's happening. It gives you a better understanding. I think just same thing. You've been a teacher. You're an assistant principal now. You'll be a principal very soon. And so when you become a district leader at some point, because I see that in your future as well, you'll have a great set of lenses because you've been in all those different things. And again, you got instant clout with people because you've done it before. Right. Then two, I think your capacity to lead is going to be even stronger, because not only are you going to have the background knowledge of doing all those different things, but you're also going to have that leadership set of skills that we're talking about here. So,
yes, sir.
What else do we talk about?
Well, no, I was just going to say, to piggyback on that, you can see that from people like the Nick Sabans of the world and the Bill
Oh
Belichick
yeah,
of the world, and how many
yeah,
of their former assistant coaches are now coaching their own programs now.
yeah, yeah.
You can almost
And
measure a great leader upon the amount of capacity they build within their organization to go out and to lead elsewhere.
you really do. And you take your successful organizations and you try to steal from those successful organizations, like these others, like the Georgia did with whatever his name, Kirby Smart,
Yeah.
and like Tennessee's trying to do, and and then Florida Atlantic down there with Lane Kiffin. So I mean, I'm just thinking of the Nick Saban chain, but it's the same thing with Bill Belichick's and whatnot of the world. You're right that they built that capacity, and so people try to replicate that success by hiring people that have worked in those organizations.
Right.
End of the day, it's all about, in my opinion, it's all about great leadership and it's all about hard work. And I feel like if you got both of those things in place, you can be successful. But I'm intrigued by leadership.
Well, it sounds like we're both being steered on the right track, and it looks.
I think so. Yours is a lot nicer looking, with that nice little top stuff and the little boxes and all that.
That's just the way I think. I just put things together like that.
Mine again is on this nice little yellow notepad. That's my life. I love it.
Notice it's this exact same thing. Okay, so I just implement a little technology in there.
Technology is important. I just don't love it as much as some people do.
There you go. Hey, I figured, these nice Lenovo devices might make some use of it.
That's right. That's right. I'm using mine right now. That's what I'm doing.
That's right. All right. Well, I think we're good in that regards. And do you have any further questions for me, or I'm good on yours.
Okay. Well, I'm good on yours too. I think we're in good shape, and I'm going to be talking to Dr. Compton this week as well to kind of get some marching orders from her. I'm still kind of just, how do I start this writing process? When do we start the writing process? And when do I need to do my RRB piece and all of that? How do I do all that? And so I know we're trying to take these classes at the same time, and so they're supposed to kind of marry everything together, but I don't see it in my mind right now. I can't see it all together yet. So I'm hoping that Dr. Compton's going to be able to help me clear those cobwebs.
Right.
So.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here.
Okay.
Recording.